I'm Sabrina Register, Comcast Neighborhoods. Welcome to the Museum of Flight, one of the largest private airspace museums in the world. This amazing facility boasts more than 120 aircraft, including the first fighter plane from World War I, the first presidential jet, the first flight-worthy Boeing 747, and a British Airways Concorde. Join us as we explore the museum. Plus, we'll stop by an aviation-themed restaurant that's not to be missed on This Neighborhoods. Whether you are a longtime aviation enthusiast or newly curious about our nation's history of space exploration, the Museum of Flight is a great way to spend a winter day. Conveniently located off of Interstate 5 at the south end of Boeing Field, the museum is massive. Plenty of models, artifacts, and interactive exhibits to keep you entertained for hours. The museum gives the visitor a representation of every aviation era, from the earliest days of powered flight to the golden years of the 1920s and 30s to its latest addition, the Personal Courage Wing.
This features the fighter aircraft, or the pursuit aircraft as they used to be called, that featured so prominently in World War I and World War II, the great struggles of the 20th century. On the first floor, we have a wonderful array of both Allied as well as Axis and even Russian fighter aircraft, single-seat aircraft. That's why it's called Personal Courage. And on the second floor is our World War I gallery, where we have some of the world's best examples of extant World War I fighter aircraft.
The Personal Courage Wing chronicles the contributions of women during the war. There's something else on the first floor, impeccably restored, that you won't want to miss. Dan, talk about this aircraft here.
Well, Sabrina, this is a real crowd pleaser and certainly one of the most famous aircraft of World War II, North American P-51D Mustang. It was preeminent fighter aircraft of the United States Armed Forces during the war, and it was used both by the United States Army Air Forces as well as by the British Royal Air Force, as well as a number of other Allied Air Forces during the war. The example we have here came in earlier this year in 2010, and it's something of a mystery aircraft. Historians have been able to establish the identities of all but 4 of the 32 Mustangs that Israel acquired, most of them from the Royal Swedish Air Force. This is one of the 4 that they were not able to establish. You probably heard the phrase, the whole 9 yards. Mm-hmm. Well, that phrase originated during World War II with the 9th Air Force when they were attacking locomotives, German locomotives, trains. They would come in, they would shoot all of their ammunition into the trains, blow them up, and in their reports they would say, we gave them the whole 9 yards, because each of those ammunition belts was exactly 9 yards long.
The whole 9 yards. A big draw at the Museum of Flight is the exhibit dedicated to exploring the new frontier. With the monumental milestone of Americans traveling into space coming up in May, visitors can relive the historic moments.
We have a mock-up of the Mercury capsule, which is identical to what Alan Shepard flew on his first flight. May 5th is the 50th anniversary of the first American in space flying that Mercury capsule.
For the devoted aerospace fan, it's all here. The Apollo Command Module, a real capsule used for crew training, a mock-up of the Lunar Ascent Module, and an engineering mock-up of the lunar rover made by Boeing and used for testing components here on Earth. Those who remember significant aerospace events in our nation's history can replay them all over again. But the museum also wants to inspire a group that doesn't remember watching any of this unfold on TV.
Space excites kids, and one of the goals of the museum is to really excite young people to follow up on their studies of math and science and technology, because this country really needs the kind of people who built the Apollo hardware, who built the Viking landers, who built the current rovers that are up there still roving around on Mars right now. If we're to continue to be a leader in this country, we need our young people to get excited and to follow those careers.
A lot of excitement is generated here in the Challenger Learning Center established in 1992 and named for the fallen Challenger astronauts.
Here we have mission control. You're sitting at the flight director's desk, and across the way, you can see in the cameras there, we have a simulated spacecraft. So half the school kids go into the spacecraft, the other half here are mission controllers. There are people on either side that talk to each other about life support or about doing scientific investigations or communicating from the ground to the spacecraft. And we literally create over 2 hours a simulated mission.
And you might even throw in an emergency?
Oh yeah, life support is a great one. There's an emergency where they're running out of oxygen, and basically they've got to communicate and work as a team to figure out the instructions here on the ground.
Who knows? Maybe there are future flight directors and astronauts in this crowd. Adults can role play as well. At the Aviation Learning Center, groups can challenge their team building and problem-solving skills. After learning the science behind flying, it's off to planning a flight. So we're in pre-flight check mode, correct? What are we doing?
That's right. We want to make sure that the plane is ready for takeoff. All the systems are working, that it's nice and solid, everything's in its right place. So we start out with the wings. We want to make sure that it has enough gas on board, because that's where airplanes usually have gases inside the wings. So we look inside, here's the gas filler, look inside, okay, that looks good. Looks like it's right up near the top where it should be. Aviation gas comes in different colors to tell you what the octane is, so you want to make sure that it's the right color as well. So that looks good. Then you come around towards the front and you want to look inside of the cowling and places like that, just in case
you find a bird's nest?
You find a bird's nest.
What's the story with this?
Well, birds like to find places like that to make their nests. It really does happen. I've flown airplanes, I let them sit there for a few hours in the springtime, and I come back, I look inside, there's sticks. Somebody's already established this is a great place to make a home.
A little instruction behind the wheel.
This controls your elevator, fore and aft like that. So you want to look in back. Is the elevator moving up and down?
Yep.
Okay.
And we're ready to go. With well over 100 aircraft at the museum, space is at a premium. But problems solved with an expansion, which will be completed next summer.
We're also planning a major West Side expansion to cover the air park facility that we have now. That's where you find our Boeing 747, the very first one of its breed, our supersonic Concorde transport, Air Force One, which is really a BC-137B, if you want to know the designation, the first Boeing 737, a very early Boeing 727, and so on. We want to populate that new West Side expansion gallery, which we'll call our Air Transportation Gallery, not only with the aircraft that are presently there, but also with our wonderful B-29, our B-17F, and a number of the other wonderful aircraft that we have presently under restoration at our facility in Payne Field in Everett, Washington.
There are high hopes one of the retired space shuttles soon calls the museum home.
Imagine the generations of kids who can come and stand next to that spacecraft that's flown numerous times into space, carried numerous astronauts. Of course, we have no idea which one we might get if we do get one, but they'll be able to really experience that history in a way. Well, that's what museums are designed to do.
Just down the street from the museum is a restaurant that celebrates aviation with a slice of pie on the side.
Now we're across the field.
Randy's has been serving up hearty fare to pilots and people who love planes for decades. Richard, not Randy, that was the previous owner, says the aviation theme came easy.
And I have so many navigators and aviation people and history that comes in here. And I build models anyway, so it just came natural. And then we're right by Boeing and right by the museum and the airport out here. So it wasn't a no-brainer type thing.
Customers never tire of the memorabilia, which covers the shelves, the walls, even the ceiling.
The aircraft right above you right now has been signed by Colonel Morgan, who was the pilot of the Memphis Belle. And him and his wife came in, and I took it down and conned him into signing it.
Randy's hopes to feed the next generation of navigators, dishing out meals along with aviation small talk.
Still like the job, and it's like a hobby, so we're hoping to be around for a long time.
The Museum of Flight gives the visitor an enriching experience steeped in aviation and aerospace history. For some, it's reliving the past. For others, maybe forging a future. For Neighborhoods, I'm Sabrina Register.